Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. One of our favorites is in the studio with us today, and that is Sean Boyd. He's the artistic director for Trinity Theatre. Always good to see you, Sean. How you doing, man?
Good to see you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing just great here. Always have some great content. Joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. Got a lot of fun stuff they've been doing in Liberty Station. And Kristen, I know you know Sean.
I do, yeah. I'm so excited. He put together the dots. Maybe it's been like 10 years since we've seen each other, which is, I don't know, a very long time.
A very, very long time.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you start it off with a question for Sean?
I will. Can you speak a little bit to the mission of Trinity and maybe the conditions it arose out of, or like, hey, why a theater company? Why now? A little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. So Trinity Theatre Company started in 2012 while I was still a senior in high school.
Cool.
We wanted to start something to unify friends, family, and the community through the power of performing arts, since it has become a professional theater and arts education facility. So we serve students across the county as well as adult professional artists to give them an environment to create and to inspire those that are just emerging in the field.
Cool.
Yeah, you guys are located in the Mission Valley, is that correct?
That's correct. We're right in the mall in the old Payless shoe store space and now the new Trinity Theater space.
Very, very
so
nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. So talk about this. I know you're passionate. You've taught English and so forth. You got a master's in teaching and so forth. How many schools, do they come to you? Do you go to them or both?
Yeah, so Trinity Theatre Company has agreements with several different districts.
Right,
so
right.
we actually push into the school sites
Nice.
to provide our programming directly to the students there and eliminate the geographic barrier of transportation, which can be difficult in San Diego
And
County.
very, very expensive these days.
It really, truly. And so we go down as far south as South Bay Imperial Beach, as far north as Escondido, and everything in between as much as we can.
Right. Now, will some come to the theater themselves? Will they actually work on the performances? Will they direct, build sets, make
He's just giving you lots of things to do, which he does to me all the time. He's like, so at Writers Inc., do you guys provide scripts for disadvantaged youth? I was like, no, but now I have to do that.
Right?
All the time.
So you would think after 20 years you'd get it right. But anyway, that's all right, though. I've
only been there 11, okay? So I've got some room to grow.
You got 9 more years.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and for us, we absolutely do. And we've been very lucky because of our central headquarters in Mission Valley Mall. Friends do come from across the county to join us and create there. Increasingly, we found students are incited by the technical theater components. And when you're pushing out, it's really hard to say, hey, use somebody else's equipment for the very first time and to try not to break it.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas when it's in our own headquarters, okay, let's have a little risk. Let's have a little fun so that somebody can learn to use it better than they did today.
Right.
That's exciting.
So I'm sure the teachers are loving this, to say the least, and so forth on it. And have any of the students, you've been doing this for a little bit now, that have now graduated from high school, moved on to college, are they now working with you at all?
Yes. Actually, our last marketing director was a Trinity student.
Nice.
Worked with me as before Trinity even existed, so that was kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got a group of graduating seniors right now. They've all been accepted into college programs, all for theater, which is very exciting.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So they're onward in that same trajectory, which is a magnificent thing to see.
Yeah, we talk about this quite a bit on our show, something that I'm passionate about, and I think Susan knows, and that's Susan Clausen, was just wonderful things in the theater world herself, directing and acting, and of course, in the PR marketing standpoint. But careers are important too. What we focus on in our Spotlight show on Cloudcast, and we're heavily laser beamed on working with organizations like Classroom of the Future that tie into careers, wherever the career may be. Talk about different careers in theater. There's a ton of them, correct?
There is a ton, and studies show that a huge percentage of the state's employment comes from the field of entertainment, whether that is in the marketing lens or the performing lens or the creative side of things. I think it's between 7 to 10% on any given year is in this field and in this industry. We of course know and think of the actor as the pinnacle career, but it isn't, right? There's directing, there's stage managing, there's assistant stage managing, there's lights, sounds, props, set, so many creatives that come in together, as well as the administrators. And it's been really exciting for me to see our teens get excited about the administrative sides of theaters, picking the shows, making the contracts, making sure that the artists are satisfied with their commitment to the theater, and the fact that they want to learn how to do that, I think is an exciting opportunity for the city.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. One of the things we talk about all the time when we focus on the concept of college and career pathways, which, finally is getting a lot of attention and money in the schools, probably in the last 15, 20 years. It's exploded because heaven forbid we found out, why don't we focus on what the kids are interested in? What a shock, right? We've known since people are walking upright, when they get to focus on things that they are engaged in, voila, they excel.
It's a novel concept, yeah.
Well, what's great about it is getting a lot of attraction, has been getting a lot of traction for the last 10, 15 years or so, and I think it's great. But you brought up a very good point that I always use this when I explain about careers, whether it's in cyber, I use my former industry, journalism. And Kristen's probably heard me say this in some of the shows. In our heyday, we had 2,400 employees at the San Diego Union Tribune. Of those, 1/7 were writers, which meant 6/7 were doing other things than writing. And to your point about, you think about, if you're not an actor, you can't be in theater. Are you kidding me? You can be a stagehand. You can do X, Y, and Z. And I think the point of this, Kristen, and you know this so well, there's a space for you anywhere, wherever your strength is. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. And I'm also going to just quickly point out, too, I think that with theater, there's such in the schools, we want to push academic readiness, right? We need to support students in terms of mathematics and reading enrichment. But what we miss from theater when we cut that's a reading intervention strategy right then and there that gets kids excited to read their scripts. Yeah. We can drop words like create a character, plot development, theme, and nobody's thinking about that as the content, right? That's just something you innately know. And if you don't, you're learning it quickly. And so that reading intervention makes such a world of difference for students that maybe are intimidated by reading and writing in a standard classroom. So I will always advocate for theater as a reading intervention strategy in the schools. But in terms of supporting, right, it's recognizing that support, right, I love theater because of that ensemble nature. Right. We succeed together. We fail together. When we create, it has to be a unified vision, a unified team. And it's not just an actor being great and then I support that actor, right? Every single person on that team has to be excellent to create something magnificent. And when we are magnificent, it just inspires you to do more and do better than you did the last time. I like to say that I watch the kids elevate each other, that they see the one person that already is great and they now know that's the bar. And so let's go higher.
Well, yeah, you're spot on. And you talk about the team nature of it, the ensemble nature of it, whether it's sports, whether it's theater, whether it's just working in a regular office environment. It's so critical. We're chatting with Sean Boyd. He's artistic director for Trinity Theater. I'm Drew Schlosberg. As you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We are the longest community podcast show in the country, now in our 18th year. Mission Fed for 6 decades is doing great things in the community, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary. I know you have a question for Sean on this play.
Yeah, I do. So this is the last weekend of I Love You Because. Can you talk about it and why you chose it?
Yeah, it's a lovely, magnificent musical. That's my word of the day, magnificent.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm just so thrilled with everything that we're doing here. I Love You Because it's a sweet tale of relationships and humor and finding that life together. For us, our season this year is we've kind of dubbed it the life of the party, and so finding these celebrations of our life journey is exciting. Of course, relationships are a key part of all of that. And that's one of the reasons we've chosen to celebrate just what that means. And our next production, which is a co-production with Underground Performance Syndicate, The Stark Truth of Humanity, almost takes this that theme of the life of the party to a whole new level of let's celebrate humanity in a different light, recognizing all those adventures that we have to go on, whether we want to or not.
So take me through. I'm always interested as like a former, AD and things like that. Like, how do you build your season? Like, how many shows do you have? Do you have directors that submit? Like, is it mostly people in-house? Like, I want to geek out to a little bit more of that.
I love that. Yeah. So, yes, I think that the best works that we find are always shows that have been exciting to other artists to the point that they want to say, hey, Sean, you should read this script. If they're not excited, then they can't really pitch it. And I can sit there and read through a million scripts. But without seeing that spark, with that enthusiasm, that passion, then it sometimes falls flat. Not to say I haven't found things that I love in the standard way, but it tends to be artist recommendations. So I Love You Because was one where the director, Bobby Inverado, came to me, said, I love this play. It's very rarely done, but it is just this gorgeous piece of theater. And listening to him talk about it was almost more exciting than sitting there and reading it myself. It was hysterical. I really enjoyed reading it, but it was the passion that made it that much more exciting to produce.
So when you your season goes from when to when?
So newly, we are now July through June season.
Okay, yeah. Right, exactly. And so the one that we just talked about here, did he direct the play or did you direct it?
Bobby ended up directing that one. I Love You Because, yes.
Right.
So this year, I'm directing our musical this summer, 35 millimeter, which I'm very excited for, celebrating photographic arts there, and once again finding stories through a new arts medium. Right. We see photographic arts, that's abstract art, or abstract photography, excuse me, and friend of the photographer says, let's write some music, tell these stories based on what I do see and perceive. And if we're life of the party celebrating those life stories, I think seeing different meaning in different pictures and different arts and different literature, I think is exciting. So that's the only one I'm directing this year.
Right, exactly. So, as the artistic director, and of course, you played this role too, Kristen, are you in charge of everything, so to speak, as in you're choosing the director? Is the director choosing the actors? How's that work? Or it depends?
Yeah, I tend to trust my artists. So yes, I oversee the day-to-day operation of the organization, but I do have a magnificent team. My brother actually helps oversee our grown-up stage division, so our professional actors tend to be under his care. Right. My wife oversees our arts education department, so a lot of our youth. I like to be hands-on. I have my master's in teaching. I love working with the students, so I tend to direct the arts education shows with my wife. But it is definitely a collaborative effort. When it comes to casting, it's the same thing. If they're in the room to direct the show, I have to innately trust their artistic vision, and I'm going to assume that they're picking the right people. And so I like to go to auditions because it's a nice time to say hello to artists, but I trust my director's ideas of who they want.
Right. When we come back from break, I want to talk a little about, the collegiality of all you folks. You tend to, everyone knows everybody, from Ted up in Oceanside Theatre Company and the folks at Scripps Ranch Theater, of course, Susan and you and all that business, how tight-knit it is, how you folks share, how you root for each other in this aspect of it. Doesn't always happen. Certainly want to talk a little bit more about the school component of it. So for our educators that are out there listening to these shows, they know I'm passionate about this, and we talk about education a lot. How do they get engaged with you and so forth? And as always, Sean, you've been on the show before. We always save some time to, in the second half, what can our listeners do to support you? obviously go to the plays. But, money does turn lights on, and it enables you to do stuff, and we can talk about that as well.
Beautiful.
All right, we're going to be right back with Sean Boyd, Artistic Director for Trinity Theatre. I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, broadcasting from these really cool Mission Fed studio in Scripps Ranch. Mission Fed for more than 6 decades, just doing great things in our community. Joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the Executive Director of San Diego Writers Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Honored to have back in the studio Sean Boyd, Artistic Director for Trinity Theatre, joined by my co-host Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers Inc. Right before break, we were just talking about the collegiality, I think that's a word, and
Sure.
and so forth, of, the space you're in. And just talk about how that's got to make you feel good because you love to share ideas and work together and so forth.
I have a follow-up to that, too.
Please.
Well, I'm going to start by shouting out Susan Clausen. I don't get to see her enough, and I haven't seen her in ages. But I think she just does such a magnificent job of tying together the community and doing everything that she can to keep artists unified and supported. So thank you for all that you do, Susan. I think it's a magnificent thing in this city that we are all so close and wanting to advance each other's missions. I think that we recognize that the performing arts need artists, and if we're not supporting those artists, we'll all falter.
And we want to retain them too. I mean, I've watched, my kind of theater tribe go all across the country because it's just so hard to make a living here and everything. So correct me if I'm wrong, I probably will be. Is the SDC that you're an associate member of, is that Phil's thing? What's the acronym?
No, so that one's the San Diego Theater Alliance.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I was like, what is the SDC then?
The SDC is the labor union for professional directors and choreographers.
Okay.
So that's my union.
Gotcha.
and I'll shout them out
nice.
for sure.
As you should.
Yes, I'm very, very proud to be with them. But no, the San Diego Theater Alliance is a consortium of 40 plus theaters in San Diego County that are working to advance our collective goals, specifically from the administrative perspective of making sure that we as employers of artists can take care and provide for our artists. It stemmed out of the COVID-19 pandemic, where we all got together on Zoom. It felt all the time, and really forged some beautiful relationships out of that. During my tenure at the Theater Alliance, there was a lot of advocacy initiatives trying to work with members of our city council, the city government to try to advance our needs, as well as at the state level. And I loved every second of it. Of course, with Trinity's move into Mission Valley, priorities changed for my own individual life. But I'm so grateful for what the Theater Alliance continues to advance, and looking forward to the next journey.
What are you kind of seeing after the pandemic, or as we move out of the pandemic, or wherever it is that we happen to be at this current time? Like, what kind of trends do you see in theater, or what have you seen since that? Like, I know I've seen some things. I'm always curious to talk to folks about what they've seen in terms of the kinds of programming or things like that.
Yeah, I think that right now there's continues to be a celebration over comedy, right? Not to diminish with the dramas, because we love those stories just as much. But right now, we want to celebrate our individual stories, for me, I'm looking at this co-production with the Underground Performance Syndicate, where there's 7 different directors that have each picked their own casts. So they're bringing in about 30 actors to tell 6 unique different stories. And I think that that's the biggest trend right now, is how many people want to talk. Yeah. And just as many people want to listen.
Absolutely.
I think that it was so easy for us to generalize the COVID pandemic experience, where it was, I'm isolated and I stayed in my home and I talked to nobody but myself. But that perspective is different for my wife and I, who are by ourselves, and that's who we'd had, and we had our little bubble, right, that we talked to on Zoom. But that's a very different experience from parents that had young kids that were going through school.
Well, not through school, but yeah.
Right. Or who had 4 different Zoom calls at the exact same time in their homes. So
and
those
then
experiences
on
are
those two, if I could say, we're doing half and half. Where my daughter was teaching at the time at a middle school, half the kids were in class and half the kids were on Zoom.
Right.
Yeah. So
the hybrid model.
No, hybrid does
add that to the mix
strong
as
feelings.
well.
No.
As that aspect of it. But I think that, to the point that you guys were just chatting about, it's the nature of what you folks do. You brought this up earlier, that a huge percentage of people, at least in California, are tied to the entertainment industry somewhere down the road. It's also an economic driver. And a lot of studies have been out there, is that what do the arts mean? And we'll talk about San Diego County. Contribute a ton to the gross national product of San Diego, whether you're looking at, the bigger theaters, smaller theaters, everything in between. You guys drive economics out here. Talk about that.
Yeah, it is. So I believe the most recent economic study quoted something over $1 billion if the local economy comes directly from the arts. I say directly, but when you go out to the theater, it's not typically I'm driving to the theater, I'm going home. Right? It's date night. Right. It's a family night. It's an experience that we go to. Yes. For us, being right in Mission Valley Mall, we love that experience. Right? We encourage our patrons, go to one of our local nearby restaurants. There's a few in the mall. Right. And then come to the theater. And then if you want to, after the theater, why not go enjoy some virtual reality literally across from us? You can really make a full night or full day in that. And that's not just for the performances, for our families that participate in our classes. That's a rehearsal. That can be a standard day. You can really immerse yourself in a full experience of living. And I love that.
Right. And of course, if you don't have the right theater garb, you can go to Macy's and grab yourself some clothes before you then go to a restaurant.
Macy's is one of our sponsors, by the way. So,
No, we want to get Macy's as a sponsor.
Macy's, are you listening?
That's why I teed this up here. We're chatting with Sean Boyd, Artistic Director for Trinity Theatre. I'm Drew Schlosberg at Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, with my co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary. Getting back to the teaching part, which is just such a near and dear, is there a waiting list for the schools to get the services? You only have so much capacity, I imagine, or no, we can pretty much serve anybody that needs our services?
We have been very grateful to our teaching artists. We have about 30 individual teaching artists that we call on. They are magnificent. They know that they are our core. Yeah. So grateful to all of them. And it really has been call us, Let's figure out what your needs are
and
what those services are, and then we can go from there. This summer, we are providing about 400 students free of charge programming through, of course, from the generosity of the San Diego Foundation's Level Up program. We're providing 300 students, both in our spaces and pushing into school sites, so a little bit of both for the geographic capacities. We're also serving about 100 students at South Bay Union School District for comparable programs during the summer. So all of those students can participate free of charge, and very grateful for that.
Is that coming through the VAPA Foundation?
That one's directly through the San Diego Foundation's Level Up grant.
Right, because I know VAPA Foundation gets some of the Level Up money. We've had some of those folks on, and we at the Classroom of the Future Foundation gets Level Up money to do the same type of stuff, and it's pretty cool. Do you offer, Kristen, I should know this, and I don't, do you offer workshops in the summer for kids at all, for students?
The short answer is we do. We try. Yeah. I know that we'll be doing something in North County because we get a lot of requests for that sort of stuff in North County.
Now, do you get grants, or does the money, if you're working with the North County School District, do they have the grant to execute it? How's that work?
They're fee-based programs, but we keep them really low, so it's
affordable.
Yeah, exactly, because having children is not cheap. So
we
keep that in mind.
Yes, you and I know that very well. Thank you very much.
I wanted to ask Sean about are these fee-based programs that are going to be in your space for the summer? Are you having summer camps, or are these specific kiddos that speak more about that?
Yes, both. Okay. To celebrate what the San Diego Foundation is doing here, this is an initiative for students of San Diego Unified School District.
Right. Oh, that's right. I'm teaching a Level Up. Yeah, I know how Level Up works. I'm doing one at Dana.
And it really is. It's a magnificent thing, right? Because this is a program that is historically fee-based program. When we look at the costs of participation in the theater, theater we want to make inclusive. We want to bring as many families as we can, but it's for a producer, it's an expensive program. So breaking down that financial barrier and allowing all those that want to participate the opportunity to do so that they can share their stories is a huge advancement for the arts in this city. We have seen trends that suggest that more affluent participants, more affluent artists are the ones that tend to quote unquote make it in the industry. And to break that down, we are now exposing ourselves to new stories that are more meaningful for today's communities, today's society, and we need more of that. We need more opportunities to do that. So with our 400 students that are going to be coming in through our doors, I'm hoping that we'll find some really unique and telling stories.
That's awesome. On the regular with your kids programming, how young do you go? Like 5-year-olds?
Yes,
like little
in fact, we
silly
do.
5-year-olds? Yeah.
Yes. So our shows, we start as I believe we've opened that up to now 6 years old. It used to be 8.
Yeah.
But we now make
almost.
it 6.
He's almost there.
Right.
Oh wait,
but we also
he has
do
a birthday coming. Okay.
We also do our Trinity Tots program, which is from 4 to 7 years old, so that
cute.
they are getting the exposure to reading, telling stories,
cool.
The singing, the dancing. Of course, that's always fun for them. We have our Storytime program, which is a free program. It's professional actors telling stories for 3 to 5-year-olds.
Oh,
so
fun.
right now we're doing the Little Red Hen every Sunday. It's completely free of charge. So we
go.
tell the story.
Oh,
you should.
We're coming.
It's
we're going. He would love that.
And our actors, they're just so lovely with the kids.
Aww.
I mean, the kids sometimes will walk up onto the stage, and our actors will be like, "Well, I have a new prop today," and they just run with it.
That would be my child. He'll prop it up
because there is no, at 3 years old, who's taken the time to teach theater etiquette,
right?
So let's also call that out, right? That is another barrier that exists in theater communities, right? We have all been conditioned into going to theater and saying, "You sit down, you watch, you listen, no cell phones." That's the experience, right? That can actually create a barrier for those that haven't been told and taught that. So we need to create an environment that says, okay, if we want to maintain that etiquette, how do we encourage it as opposed to shaming it?
I think it reminds me of a quick story that we used to sponsor the Grinch every year at the old Globe, and it came out of my department, and so we'd always host a party for about 50 folks, and then we brought the Grinch into the party, and then we went down and saw the play. Well, my daughter, who's now teaching, 29 years old, was 4. And should we bring her to this? Is she going to run on the stage and take out the Grinch in the performance? Because she was very active, and she stayed in her seat and all that business. But the whole time I was nervous as can be in that aspect. But you almost wanted to say, well, that's what kids should be doing. That's what they need to touch and do all that type of stuff. What can we do to support your efforts? What can our listeners do?
Thank you. For me right now, we're launching our Pay It Forward campaign. We love what we're doing with the Level Up Foundation. We love being able to provide this. These experiences free of charge to students, but we recognize that finances will always present a barrier. So if anyone is in the capacity to provide scholarships for students, that can range anywhere from $250 to $500 per child, we want to make sure that all the students that want to participate have that opportunity. So great way to give is to provide those scholarships.
And what's the website?
Our website is www.trinityttc.org.
Well, it's always good having you on, Sean, and you're welcome anytime. Your content you provide is terrific. Maybe next time come on, bring in a director or bring in someone who's performing as well, or a student that has benefited from what you folks have done and now working with you guys. How's that sound?
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Always good seeing you, Sean.
Good to see you.
You bet. Artistic director for Trinity Theater, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, San Diego Writers Inc. Executive Director. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things in San Diego County. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.